We are cutting into your regularly scheduled programming to talk about a tornado warning for Southside Virginia. We've had a tornado watch. You've seen that scrolling in the bottom of your screen for the last several hours. But now we have a warning, which is a step up from a watch. A warning means it's time to seek shelter for Brunswick and Greensville counties. This warning in effect until 4:45 this evening. You can see this red outline box. The storm that we're concerned about is crossing the North Carolina-Virginia state line as I speak, and we're going to take a close view of that storm. For the rest of central Virginia, if you're watching in Richmond, we're under that watch for the next few hours until 8 p.m. We don't have any immediate tornado concern for RVA. Henrico, Chesterfield, right down toward the Tri-Cities, we're not overly concerned about a tornado here for the next at least 30 minutes to an hour or so. And we thought the better chance for seeing a couple of strong and severe storms will be focused more towards Southside Virginia. That's where we have that tornado warning that's in effect until 4:45. Again, this storm moving off to the north and east. Really, it's approaching rural parts of Brunswick County down toward Greensville County, but Emporia, I would be alert if you're watching from Greensville County because that storm is eventually headed towards the Emporia area as we head through the next 15 to 30 minutes and then a little bit past that as we approach 5 p.m. So I want to zoom in here and take a look at what's happening as we focus in on that storm across Brunswick and Greensville counties. Again, for RVA, I know we have a lot of viewers watching from Metro Richmond. We're not concerned immediately about a tornado for our area. So for the time being, we're going to focus on that area farther off to the south and west. I'm going to zoom in down toward Brunswick County, which is right where we have, you can see a little bit of lightning popping up on first alert Doppler radar, and it's right where my hand is right now that we're concerned about some rotation, some spin in the atmosphere. This storm going to lift off to the north and east as we head through the next 30 minutes. And it's right about to cross Lake Gaston down toward parts of the North Carolina-Virginia state line. And again, this tornado warning that's in effect is in effect until 4:45 this afternoon. Again, that tornado warning includes Brunswick and Greensville County, also Northampton County in North Carolina. But the 12 on your side viewing area only includes Greensville and Brunswick County, not Northampton County. So we're focusing in on Brunswick County here. If you're in the Lake Gaston area, you really need to be in your safe place. When we talk about a safe place, we're talking about the lowest floor. You probably don't have a basement there, but the lowest floor of a building, the first floor, get into a closet, a hallway. The idea is to put as many walls between yourself and the outside as you can. We have new people joining us all the time. That's why we're here going live on 12 on your side to help you stay ahead and give you that first alert about this tornado warning that's in effect now down toward the North Carolina-Virginia state line. Again, a few lightning strikes showing up with this storm. It is going to continue to lift off to the north and east as we head through the next 30 minutes or so. So if you're in southern parts of Brunswick County, you want to be in your safe place. We're going to take a look at where this storm is headed here over the next 15 to 30 minutes. I'm going to draw a squall, a track on that storm for you as it continues to lift off to the north and east at around 30 to 35 miles per hour. That's why I say if you're in Emporia, you really need to be thinking about heading to your safe place right now. It popped up with Henrico. We're not talking about Henrico County, though. I want to make that really clear. We're talking about parts of Brunswick County. There may be another location down here that's also called Henrico coincidentally. So Henrico, we're in the clear. We're not talking about a tornado threat, just some rain coming down from Metro Richmond, but Henrico and Brunswick County just popped up on our map. You can see where that is. It's right near the Virginia-North Carolina state line. Lake Gaston, you need to be on the lowest floor of your building. If you have a closet, that's the best place to be. Otherwise, go into a hallway, a bathroom, get as low as you can. And just in case we were to see something start to really touch down, this is a radar-indicated tornado, but just in case it were to touch down on the ground, which is why we're doing this continuous coverage, protect your head. Maybe grab a pillow, grab a helmet if you have one. It may seem a little silly, but that's the safest thing you can do to keep the most valuable part of your body safe, which is the head, the neck area, in case any debris were to fly around with this storm. Again, we have that watch until 8 p.m. This warning, though, until 4:45 for southern parts of Brunswick County and out toward Greensville County as this storm continues to lift off to the north and east. Powelton, it's going to be near you here in about 10 minutes or so, around 4:28. And then we have Totaro in the path at 4:41. Emporia closer to 4:54. At this point, Emporia is just outside of that tornado warning area, but you need to be on alert. We're giving you that first alert now if you're watching from Emporia, that you'll need to think about heading into your house if you haven't already, and then head into your safe place if that warning gets extended a little bit farther off to the north and east. So what I'm going to do right now is take a look at the winds within the storm. We're going to use what we call velocity to look at that. This is a lot of colors in the map. The green going one direction and the red going another, the winds in the atmosphere, where you see the green and the red brightly close together right here near the North Carolina-Virginia state line. That's where we have the concern for potentially a brief tornado. We're going to continue to track this storm as we head through the next few minutes. Again, that warning in effect until 4:45. We do not have a confirmation that a tornado is in progress at this point, but we do have some concern about that spin in the atmosphere down toward the North Carolina-Virginia state line. That's why I say Lake Gaston down toward southern parts of Brunswick County, you really need to be thinking about heading into your safe place. This storm going to continue to lift off to the north and east toward Greensville County, Emporia. Those locations need to be thinking about heading to their safe place as well. We'll see if they continue this warning a little bit farther. The rotation at this point does not look overly impressive. I'm going to now take a look at some of those winds within the storm right near where the rotation is strongest. Usually we look for winds upwards of 60, 70, 80 miles per hour to show the potential for a tornado. At this point, when we look at the winds on there, they're 17. So at this point, I'm not overly concerned about an immediate touchdown, but this is a little bit farther away from the radar site, so we're not getting a great view at it. That's why we really want you to be in a safe place out of an abundance of caution for these areas. Whenever a tornado warning is issued, we want you to take that seriously and get to the lowest floor of a building as the storm makes its way across southern parts of Brunswick County, really close to Lake Gaston. I'm going to continue to look at the winds. Again, not terribly impressive, but the National Weather Service did see some stronger rotation within the last 10 minutes. These storms sometimes weaken and they get a little bit stronger again. So that's really why we're concerned about the potential that this still could briefly touch down. The tornadoes in an environment in the atmosphere like we have out there today, they're not going to be long-lived. They're going to be brief touchdowns. We gave you that first alert last night over the last couple of days, that if we were to see a brief tornado, it would not last terribly long, as it will likely just briefly touch down, then lift again if one were to occur. We may have had one earlier in North Carolina, and we're now watching that threat move a little bit farther off to the north. So again, Brunswick County down toward Greensville County is where we have that tornado warning that's in effect until 4:45. They could, if this rotation continues to weaken, they could cancel that warning a little bit earlier. Again, it's that red polygon, the big red area that you see in all of these counties that's shaded, that's the tornado watch. But this polygon outline from Brunswick County down to Emporia, that octagon type shape you see there, that is the warning that we have in effect until 4:45. And again, I'm going to continue to watch what's happening with the National Weather Service and see if they decide to cancel this a little bit early, because as I mentioned, the rotation is not terribly impressive with this storm. But I'm taking a look here at the latest information from the Weather Service. They're continuing the tornado warning again until 4:45. We'll see if they end up deciding to cancel that early. But again, if you're in that southern part of Brunswick County, down toward the Lake Gaston area, just to the west of I-95, this is where you really want to be in your safe place. I'm going to go back over to the radar, to that storm relative velocity. You can see some of the green and reds, that spin in the atmosphere close together, right near the North Carolina and Virginia state line. So if you're in that area, we're not overly concerned about a big twister coming on through, but there could be some strong wind gusts, potentially a brief touchdown. As I mentioned, the radar beam is a little bit farther away from this storm, so it's harder to see exactly what's happening near the ground. And that's why the National Weather Service has issued this tornado warning until 4:45. I'm going to actually take a wider view of the radar now and just see what's happening across the entire viewing area. Because we do have a lot of rain coming down from Metro Richmond, I don't want to forget about the viewers watching in RVA, Henrico, down toward Chesterfield. Rainfall rates in the order of potentially an inch an hour coming down with this line of storms that is crossing the area. So Henrico, the city of Richmond, again, we're seeing rainfall rates in the order of a half inch an hour, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a few spots to see rainfall rates. Again, there we are, more than an inch an hour. So this is a real soaking rain that we're getting out there late this afternoon into the evening. We expect the rainfall to get heavier as we head into the evening hours. So really not a great time to be driving around, even though we're not looking at an immediate tornado threat for RVA. You still want to be indoors if you can, just because the roads are getting pretty wet. We're going to have some big puddles out there, and we could have some concerns about hydroplaning, so slow things down if you do head out, maybe grabbing a bite to eat this evening, maybe grabbing a pizza to watch Sunday Night Football a little bit later on tonight. It's going to be slow going out there, so just take your time, maybe a good night to get some delivery as we are watching that rain coming across the area. So steady rain from Richmond down to Chesterfield. I think the tornado threat is really low for Richmond because we have the rain coming down that's cooling the air a little bit. It's where the air is more humid and warm down towards Southside Virginia that we're concerned about potentially that brief tornado threat. which is why we have a tornado warning down toward Brunswick County and Greensville County. And we're going to be on the air here until that tornado warning expires for Greensville and Brunswick counties. Again, that storm just to the south and west of the Emporia area. I'm going to zoom back in and take a closer look at that for you as that storm continues to lift off to the north and east. For Richmond, it's just rain, but for far southern Virginia, we do have that tornado warning in effect until 4:45 for the next 20 minutes or so, and we'll see again if it gets canceled early. I want to look again at the storm relative velocity. This is not overly impressive. There's some green and some red close together, but it's not as strong as we've seen in other storms. Now, I switched it over to another type of velocity look. That does show some brighter blues, which could be strong wind gusts out of this storm. So even if there's not a tornado, there could be straight line wind gusts, a big gust of thunderstorms, a big gust of wind that comes out of the base of that thunderstorm and can sometimes cause damage. That's what we often see around here in the summertime. It's not necessarily tornadoes, but it's the strong winds that come out of the base of a thunderstorm that causes some of the damage that we see during the summertime around here. So we could be seeing some winds upwards of 30, 40, 50 miles an hour out of this storm, even if there's not a tornado actively in progress across Southside Virginia. Again, that warning in effect until 4:45 for southern parts of Brunswick County, also southern parts of Greensville County, for the concern that there could be a brief tornado touchdown. And if there's not, there's definitely strong winds. So stay away from windows. Be on the lowest floor of a building. A basement if you have one, but I know a lot of homes do not have basements. So the most interior part of your house, a bathtub, a closet, a hallway, those are all good places to be if a tornado warning is issued. The idea is to put as many walls between yourself and the outside as you can with any sort of tornado warning that's in effect. So I want to take a look again at what's happening here in terms of the storm. We're going to go back to the other look here, and I'm going to take a look at the winds within the storm. When I did this a little bit earlier, about 5-10 minutes ago, it wasn't showing a whole lot, and again, it's not showing much right now, but I kind of talked about the caveat that this is far away from the radar site, so we're not getting a great view of the storm. It's kind of over a rural part of Southside Virginia, in between the Raleigh radar down toward North Carolina and the Wakefield radar site off the screen in Sussex County. So we're getting a little bit of wind down toward parts of Brunswick County, right near the North Carolina-Virginia state line. But at this point, we're not immediately concerned. We have no confirmation of a tornado in progress. This is more of an abundance of caution, time to be indoors, time to be on the lowest floor, just in case there were to be anything flying around as this storm continues to lift off to the north and east. We'll go back over and look at the warning that's in effect. That warning goes until 4:45 for this red polygon that you see outlined here. I want to take a look again just to make sure this warning continues until 4:45. They trimmed it back across North Carolina, which makes sense. The storm is lifting off to the north and east out of North Carolina and into Virginia. I'm going to walk over here and see what's going on now with any new updates that we have. We do have actually a brand new flash flood warning now for Hanover County and Henrico County, even though it's been dry over the last couple of months. When you get a lot of rain in a short amount of time, you can have concern for some localized flash flooding. So what I'm going to do now is kind of focus on that, because immediately I'm not overly concerned about a tornado touching down. Again, we want you to be in that safe place. We want you to be on the lowest floor of a building down toward Brunswick County and Greensville County for the next 15 minutes. But we don't think there's going to be a big tornado. There could be a brief spin up or some strong wind gusts, but that's about it. So I'm going to clear this off the screen and go back to what's happening across the rest of the 12 on your side viewing area across the entire central Virginia area. You can see that tornado watch box, including areas to the south of Richmond. But we also have a flash flood warning now that includes parts of Hanover County, West Henrico out towards Short Pump. If you're near Short Pump Town Center, you're seeing some strong winds with this, or rather some heavy rain with this storm as it continues to make its way across central Virginia. That's part of the reason why we called it a first alert weather day. It was the combination of the strong winds, potentially heavy rain that could cause localized flooding. And that's the concern now for Metro Richmond. I talked about how we don't have a tornado risk immediately for the next 30 minutes to an hour in Richmond, and the risk is a little bit higher off to the south and east of our area. But we also have the concern for some localized flash flooding, especially onto the west end of Henrico and the southern part of Hanover County, near Ashland and right along I-95 there. That's where some of the heaviest rain has fallen here within the last 30 minutes. Rainfall rates in the order of 1 inch plus per hour, so there is that concern about localized flash flooding as well. Let's zoom in a little bit closer on what's happening here across Metro Richmond so I can give you a better idea of exactly where that flash flood warning is in effect for. Again, it's the western part of Henrico County, out towards Short Pump, and then up toward the Ashland area of Hanover County, where we have the concern. There could be some street flooding, some localized ponding of water on roadways, those usual places where the water doesn't drain all that well, that we could see some localized flooding. So not a great time to be driving around. I was talking about that a little bit earlier, even before this flash flood warning was issued, that we have the concern for some ponding of water, some issues with driving. You want to slow things down. You can always hydroplane when we have this much rain coming down in a short amount of time. So not a great time to be driving around across the Metro Richmond area, even though we don't have a tornado concern for Richmond at the moment. We do have some heavy rain across the west end, and we always say turn around, don't drown, because being in your vehicle and driving into flooded areas is the way that a lot of people get themselves into trouble when we have a flash flood warning that's in effect. So just be cautious out there. Take things slow if you're driving around this evening, or better yet, just stay home entirely, as the rain is likely to get heavier over the next few hours. We're likely going to have continuous rain right through the evening, and potentially a few more of these flash flood warnings that will be issued as we get through the evening hours. Let's take a wider look at what's happening across the area. Again, we do have watch for potentially another isolated tornado, mainly focused to the south of I-64, down toward Greensville and Brunswick counties, where we have that tornado warning right now. A watch just means it's possible we could have a tornado. That's that big area that includes much of central and southeastern Virginia. But a warning is when it's time to get into a safe place, get into a interior room, someplace like a bathroom, bathtub, closet, hallway. All of those are great places to be and protect your head if we were to have a tornado touching down. Let's go back over to the radar and see what's happening with these storms. There's still a little bit of lightning popping up down toward Brunswick County as this storm continues to lift off to the north and east. Just heavy rain, though, for Richmond. And now that it's raining more steadily, that's going to cut down our tornado threat for Richmond, which is great news. I wouldn't be at all surprised if over the next couple of hours, even though that watch goes into effect until 8 p.m., they may end up canceling part of that watch a little bit earlier. As for Richmond, I think the tornado threat is decreasing now that it's starting to rain a little bit heavier. Down towards Southside Virginia, again, Brunswick, Greensville County, that's where you have a tornado warning, which means there may be a tornado that could touch down at any time down toward the far southern part of our viewing area. Places like Emporia, you're not in the warning at the moment, but just to your south and west. If you're watching from southern parts of Brunswick County near Lake Gaston, that's where we have concern. There could be a brief tornado touchdown. Let's look at the winds within that storm. I'm going to zoom back in a little bit closer with what's happening down towards southern parts of Brunswick County and also for western parts of Greensville County. Right along Route 46, that's where you need to be in your safe place. Powelton, a good idea to be inside that interior room, a hallway, a closet, someplace where you have as many walls between yourself and the outside to protect yourself as you can. When we looked at the winds a little bit earlier, I was talking about the winds not overly impressive with this storm, that twisting of winds, the potential rotation. I'm trying to pull it up for you here. 19 miles per hour, so that's not terribly strong. If I continue to look within the storm, we may find winds that are a little bit stronger than that. But usually when we talk about tornadoes or potentially tornadoes that could touch down, we're talking about winds greater than 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. So when I see 15, 20 pop up on here, that's not overly impressive. When you go over to the other look at the winds, there's a couple different ways you can look at the winds. You see those brighter shadings of blue or darker greens that are showing up. That's a little bit stronger winds. So that's probably why they've continued this tornado warning until 4:45. Again, if you're right along Route 46, just to the south of Powelton or even in the Powelton area, you're in that tornado warning. So you really want to be in your safe place as this storm continues to lift off to the north and east. Because even if there's not a tornado that touched down here, there could be some strong wind gusts with this storm as it continues to lift off to the north and east. Straight line winds can sometimes be just as strong as a tornado, and for that reason, we still want you to be safe. Be indoors, be in an interior room. I'm going to walk back over and look at what's happening with the new text updates that we're getting from the National Weather Service, see if they've decided to continue this tornado warning any farther, any longer. It looks like they have. So they're continuing this tornado warning for Brunswick County and Greensville County until 4:45. We have another 15 minutes to go. As I talked about earlier, these storms can sometimes weaken and then pick back up in intensity, which is the concern. You may see the winds not all that strong on first alert Doppler radar, but they could always pick back up again if this storm starts to get a little more warm air wrapping into it, it could start to get a little bit stronger. We call that a cycling supercell or a cycling severe thunderstorm. And that may be what's happening here. That may be why the Weather Service has kept this tornado warning in effect. So we still want you to be safe. We want you to be on the lowest floor of a building. The best place to be is a basement if you have one, but I know a lot of homes, especially near Lake Gaston, are probably not having a basement. So the best place to be is a closet, a hallway, a bathroom, anywhere where you have many walls between yourself and the outside. Let's take another look at where this storm is going. I'm going to draw a track on the radar to show you where that worst part of the winds is going to continue to lift off to the north and east, up toward just to the west of Emporia. Again, just a little bit farther off the map there. These times could be a little bit off. Royland School around 5 o'clock, Emporia a little bit closer to 5:30, but it wouldn't surprise me if this storm's moving a little bit faster than some of these times you see on your screen there. So let's take another look at what's happening across the entire 12 on your side viewing area. Again, when you look at the wider picture of radar, we have two alerts right now. We have a tornado warning in that red polygon across Southside Virginia down toward Greensville County and Brunswick County. And then we also have a flash flood warning that's in effect for this area that's shaded in green across western Henrico and out toward the Ashland area, Hanover County. All of those locations have the concern for some localized flooding. When you go back over to the radar, you can see kind of a big band of rain that is stretching from Richmond right down I-95. And then the southern part of that, that's where you have the tornado warning that's in effect until 4:45. That's why we did this continuous coverage, and we're going to be on here for the next 10 minutes or so to keep you updated if we have any new alerts that come in here as that storm continues to lift off to the north and east. So again, heavy rain, that's the primary concern for Richmond. I think the tornado threat's dropping now for RVA, so we'll probably see that watch, which means there's the potential for tornadoes trimmed back a little bit earlier for much of central Virginia. The concern for a brief tornado is really focused to our south and east. That's exactly what we expected today. We never really thought there was much of a risk from Richmond points north and west. It was really south and east of Richmond that we had more of a concern for potentially a brief tornado. So again, Wakefield, Sussex County, Greensville County, that's where this storm may try to re-intensify as it moves off to the north and east. We have that tornado warning until 4:45 for Brunswick and Greensville counties. So those locations, still another 10 minutes where you want to be in your safe place. But farther off to the north, this is more of a heavy rain concern for Chesterfield right into the city of Richmond. I'm going to zoom back into Metro Richmond here and show you what's happening locally across the RVA area. Again, we have that flash flood warning in that green outline box just a little bit farther off to the north and east or rather north and west of Richmond, out towards Short Pump, the Laurel neighborhood, and then stretching up into Hanover County. Some heavy rain, rainfall rates potentially on the order of 1 to 1.5 inches an hour. So you get rain over the course of an hour, you can pretty quickly get some street flooding out there, and there's going to be that concern for some localized flooding just to the north and west of Richmond, out toward I-64, Route 157 up toward Route 54 in Hanover County. All of those locations, just use caution. If you see water covering the road, you want to turn around, never drive your car across those areas. Even heavy rain now stretching into parts of the north side of Richmond, out toward eastern parts of Hanover County. We have that first alert weather day for heavy rain, strong wind gusts that likely pick up a little bit more as we head into the evening hours tonight, and also that isolated tornado threat, especially towards southern parts of our viewing area, down toward Brunswick and Greensville counties. I'm going to take a look again at what's happening with this warning, see if we have any new updates that are coming along here. Haven't seen anything yet. Really, the concern for Richmond, again, is heavy rain, not so much tornadoes at this point, even though we are in that tornado watch for a few more hours until 8 o'clock. A watch just means there's the possibility for a tornado to touch down. A warning is when it's time to take action, which is what we have for southern parts of our viewing area. We'll take a wider look at the radar again to show you what's happening down towards Southside Virginia. That red polygon that you see on your screen down toward Brunswick County, Greensville County, that's where we have the concern potentially for a brief tornado touchdown. So let's zoom back in a little bit closer there and show you what's happening down towards Southside Virginia. This warning was issued about 30 minutes ago, and it's continuing for the next 10 minutes until 4:45. There's a little bit of lightning showing up on the radar, but not a lot of lightning because the storms are not all that tall into the sky today. In fact, the tops of these thunderstorms are only going up about 20 to 25,000 feet, which is really not that impressive 26,000 feet now on some of those stronger storms within Brunswick County. Usually when we're talking about severe thunderstorms, they go up about 40,000 feet. So these storms today are low topped, therefore they're not really tapping into the cold air high up in the sky, and we're not really seeing a lot of lightning. There's not really any hail concern with this storm either, because of the fact that we don't really have a lot of cold air higher up in the sky today. It's really more of a moist, warm, humid air mass that's getting pulled into the north, which is pretty uncommon for December. It's not often that we talk about tornadoes this time of the year, but we gave you that first alert over the last several days. We called it a first alert weather day to help you plan ahead and just be weather aware. Be aware of what's happening with the weather on a day like today, because you can get these brief tornadoes that spin up on days where you have warm, moist atmosphere. The clouds are low in the sky. That means it's a little bit easier for those tornadoes to potentially touch down. Let's look at the winds within this storm. Not really a well-defined what we call couplet. We're not really looking at reds and greens close together. Even if I go back over to the other look at the radar, there's some red here and some green, but notice how there's a space in between. We're not really seeing the reds and the greens brightly coupled close together. So I think the tornado threat is really decreasing with this storm. We may be able to let you go a little bit early here, as this warning may be expired at 4:45. In fact, I think that's what's going to happen. But let's take a look at what's happening. I'm going to walk back over to the other computer and see what the National Weather Service is saying, if they said anything about this warning across parts of Southside Virginia. Again, that tornado warning was in effect until 4:45, still is for the next 7 minutes until 4:45, but the radar presentation is not really impressive here. Just as the storm moves off to the north and east of Route 46. That being said, there could be some strong wind gusts, but the tornado threat is not all that impressive looking across Brunswick County now, pushing toward the Totaro area, Greensville County, those locations. This is not looking too much like a tornado at this point. So we'll probably be able to get you back to your regularly scheduled programming here pretty shortly, as soon as we get confirmation that this warning will in fact expire at 4:45. For Richmond, the concern is going to be those heavy rains that are going to come down here for not just the next hour, but the next couple of hours. We have a flash flood warning that's in effect for Henrico. In fact, that's what I'm going to go back and look at right now. I'm going to zoom the picture out a little bit more, back to a wider look at all of central Virginia and look at the radar. Heavy rain, where you see those yellows, those oranges showing up, that's the concern for rainfall rates on the order of 1 to 1.5 inches per hour. So again, these storms continuing to come down across the area. Thankfully, with rain now in Richmond, that's going to cool the air. And rain-cooled air tends to not produce any tornadoes. So I think the tornado threat for Richmond is on the way down as we head through the next couple of hours. I wouldn't be surprised if that watch that's in effect until 8 o'clock tonight does get canceled a little bit early, because of the fact that we have the rain coming down, temperatures are going to get cooler, and we're not overly concerned about any tornadoes at this point from Richmond points north. Down towards Southside Virginia, you never know with these storms. They could re-intensify as they get back into some warmer air off to the south and east of Richmond, but we're not overly concerned about a significant severe weather event today. I think the threat's going to shift more to rain, maybe even a few snowflakes early tomorrow morning. Although we're not expecting any snowfall accumulation, many of us may see our first flakes flying of the year as we get outside early on Monday morning. Really right around sunrise tomorrow is when some of this may start to change over to a little bit of wet snow. Again, it's not going to stick much. There could be maybe a dusting on the grass, especially out toward Louisa County. We'll talk more about that coming up on 12 on your side at 6 o'clock in about an hour and 15 minutes. So tune back in then. We will talk more about the heavy rain that we're expecting. Again, we do have a flash flood warning already for the western part of Henrico and parts of Hanover County. That flash flood warning in effect until 7:30. So for the next 3 hours or so, you really need to take it slow outside, and maybe even beyond that, because even after 7:30 tonight, we'll still have heavy rain coming down across the area as this whole storm system continues to intensify and lift off to the north and east. Widespread power outages are probably not expected. The winds will get a little bit stronger this evening, but probably not strong enough to knock out the power. So that's good news. A lot of you will keep your lights on as we head through the evening hours, getting closer to Sunday night football tonight. The rain is going to be picking up in intensity, though. So heavy rain, winds getting a little bit stronger. A few people may lose power, although it's not expected to be widespread. And that tornado threat that we are covering here across Southside Virginia is expected to continue to decrease as we head through the evening hours. That watch officially ends at 8 p.m., but they usually trim those watches back a little bit earlier as soon as we get confirmation that the threat is dropping So we'll be sure to keep you updated. You can watch that crawl on the bottom of your screen, and also you can tune in on 12 on your side at 6 o'clock. We will be keeping you updated as these storms continue to lift off to the north and east. Again, flash flood warning until 7:30 tonight for Hanover and Henrico counties. That tornado warning that was in effect for Brunswick and Greensville counties is going to expire. So I'm going to let you go now back to regularly scheduled programming. Just use some caution out there on the roads. Stay home if you can, or better yet, or just drive slowly out there as we head through the evening. That does it for our coverage of this tornado warning and flash flood warning. We'll send you back to your regularly scheduled programming right now.